And we got a story about a girl that I know in Thailand, and then we got us. Our final story will be about someone that threatened my brother 212 Heat with the Albanian gangsters. Wilhelm, appreciate you. And again, to everyone that's sending through gifts. First off, let's go with an Asian girl that's stuck in Thailand right now. I'm not going to mention her name. She's been through a lot, yeah? The only reason why I'm bringing up this female is because there's a lot of females out there right now, especially young ones, who are running around for the gangs, yeah? So the police usually target the young gangsters, and they target the older boys, and they'll target girls that they see hanging around them, but they don't really look into females, and that's why a lot of females get away with being involved in crime. And the reason why the police don't really target them, so for example, if a girl goes and steals this water bottle from a shop, yeah, and I sent her in there to do it, just because she stole this water bottle, it doesn't mean that she's guilty. You know, like, the police can see me outside with her doing this, and then obviously I will get charged for telling her to steal this water bottle. This is the reason why a lot of girls get away with crime, is because the police are not stupid. They know that these girls wouldn't conjure up these types of ideas and go and import all these drugs, or organize this big bank robbery. Like, these girls, yes, of course they're smart, but they're not about that life, or they're not about that gang life, all right? So the reason why I thought to myself it's a good story to tell to all you younger generations to learn from is because of all the females that are going in and out of prison right now, especially all these models that I've been seeing all over the Telegraph for the last 3 years. There was a girl, she was on Beauty and the Geek, all right? Her name on there was Jordan. She's been locked up, you know. And a lot of other girls that were in the modeling industry, also girls that were extras on movies, also girls that were involved in luxury companies overseas that tried to import drugs into Australia. They also got arrested. And remember, these girls, not one of them conjured up these ideas, you know, like, they were all working for men who were heavily involved in the gang world. They were all working for heavies, all right? This is the reason why I'm telling you guys this story about this girl in Thailand, all right? So this girl in Thailand, when she was here in Australia, and I've been talking to her for the last couple of weeks here, and she explained to me that her man is obviously a big gangster, and he is now overseas and he's doing his thing in another country, and she's stuck in Thailand, all right? This girl did 2.5 years, and she's very loving and caring, but she explained to me that in the last couple of years that she's disappeared from Australia, not one person has offered a hand of help. Not one person has come over there to visit her. And she said when she was making money, she had so much friends, it wasn't funny. And the reason why she was making so much money was because her boyfriend or her partner at the time was a big gangster who used to give her whatever she wanted. So, for example, she got this amount of drugs, she'll go and she'll give it to her people to sell, and then she'll get back the money. She'll give her cut back to her partner, and then she's got all her profit. And obviously everyone in the underworld, they know that when it comes to Ugdres, profit is very, very big. This girl is so loving and caring to her friends that she was giving them cars as well, you know, taking them out to dinners and feeding them. You know, you go to dinner, you expect to spend about $200 when you take your family out. This girl was taking them out and spending thousands of dollars because it was luxury fine dining, you know. And this is where I'm getting at. All the money that she made, her friends just used her when she had it, all right? And as soon as she ran away from Australia because of all the heat and because of all the dramas that was happening to her man and herself, boom, everyone in her life just disappeared. Yeah, all her closest loved ones, and the only ones that reach out to her is her family members. This is what I'm explaining to all you boys out there, and especially to all you young ladies out there who are in and amongst the gangs right now. I don't give a damn, yeah? If you're just running one little bag of UGJs down to Cronulla or down to the city. Remember, when you put yourself in that situation, then don't blame anyone else if the consequences come crashing down on you, all right? I've seen so many girls crying their eyes out on shows on Australian TVs because they got caught for bags or they got caught for bringing in loads from overseas. Why are you crying now? Why didn't you think about it before you went and did it? You know what I mean? Like this girl that's in Thailand right now, she was tearing up when she was telling me her story, and she was explaining to me that that the worst thing about being in Thailand is being alone. Now I want you to take yourself and put yourself in a cell. If you're outside right now, take yourself inside your head and put yourself in a cell. Guess how you would feel alone. This is how she feels, but she's not even in prison, all right? This is how she feels, and she's just overseas in Thailand. She's got nothing, no one backing her up. From what I know, there is one girl that always reaches out to her, but this girl can't even afford to go and show her some love. Like, she's taking care of her own kids and her own life, all right? So obviously she has a good excuse for not going above and beyond, because she can't go above and beyond. She has children to look after. And to all you females out there that's watching my live, let me warn you, all right? When you get yourself involved with all these gangbangers and then you get in trouble, like, don't cry. Remember my words. That's all I'm going to say, yeah? I swear to you, I've seen it so many times where females act like gangsters, all right? And as soon as dramas kick off, like example, there was lingerie waitresses that were having issues with a bikie gang that I knew of, yeah? The lingerie waitress was going out with 3 of these bikies. These 3 bikies were involved in 3 different bikie gangs, and this one lingerie waitress was using all 3 of them. Guess what happened? All 3 of these gang members ended up trying to freaking uche each other, do these ones to each other, over this freaking lingerie waitress, yeah? And this lingerie waitress who was using all 3 of them, she ended up getting punched in the head in the city, and she ended up under the table crying her eyes out after she got caught out for sleeping with all 3 bikies, yeah, from 3 different bikie gangs. And then it took another lingerie waitress to say to her, if you don't keep your mouth shut, you know, your family is gonna get hurt. So she had to sit there and think like, should I go to the police and tell them, or should I keep my mouth shut? Because my family are going to be targeted. If you don't get involved with gangs, you don't have to make these types of decisions. You won't be in this type of situation if you don't involve yourself in that type of shit. This is what I'm saying to you. All you females out there that's trying to play gangster right now, yeah? Give it up before it's too late. You know, you don't have to listen to me. Who the hell am I? You know, I'm just giving you advice. I'm not trying to tell you what to do, all right? All I'm saying is I've seen it many times where a lot of girls have gotten themselves involved in rubbish, and then they got the nerve to cry later, or they got the nerve to snitch in the guys that they're dating because they didn't want to go to prison, because they didn't want their doors kicked in from the police. You know what I mean? But like I said, you put yourself in that situation, that's what's going to happen. It is what it is with Triggz. All right. Before I move on to the next story, again, guys, I want you, single person has been smashing my inbox with Nathan Paddison. Apparently, well, not apparently. Whoa, we'll have. Love you, Hab. I appreciate you. The votes. Yeah, boy. Facts only, appreciate you. So, everyone that's sending through gifts, my love and respects to each and every one of you. And everyone else, please tap it up, show some love, because remember, when I reach that 1 million likes, the TikTok algorithm will... Nathan Paddison and I, we first met when we were going to Canley Vale Tutorial Center. He did message me when I first got out of prison, and he asked me to jump on board with his podcast. But as I explained to him, I don't want to be interviewed with anyone. I don't I sent to Canley Vale Tutorial Center. When I got there, Nathan Paddison also was there, and Bui Tafahema, he was there as well. So all three of us went there. And there's a story that Nathan always tells on his TikToks where he said that I saved him. So I'm going to explain to you exactly what happened with that story, all right? I don't know why he had issues with these guys, but I was his friend because I met him at that school. He already had friends because he was a part of a gang called Seng War. This was an Asian gang, yeah? Him and Phili Tapahema, they were in this Vietnamese gang, Seng War. And I assumed that, not that he had pull, but I assumed that he could take care of himself. So I didn't really bother with trying to teach him or trying to bring him on board with me. Appreciate you guys. So I'm inside Playland, and I'm doing my thing. Playland used to be a place at Fairfield where all the kids used to play games, yeah. And then I was in there talking to a mate, and then I walked into a phone shop and I started talking to a guy that owned a mobile shop there called Cash. While I was talking to Cash, someone ran in and yelled at me, Pete, your mate's getting bashed, your mate's getting bashed. And I was like, who? And I walked outside. I looked across the road and I just seen 3 boys just going at him. One of them had a trolley pole, so they were smacking him over the head and he was covered up like this. But before I seen that, when I first walked out, the first thing I saw was him getting chased in circles, and there was 3 guys chasing him. And then he tripped over himself, and then one guy started going to town on him on his head, and another guy was kicking him. I gave my bum bag and stuff to the friend that I was with, and I said, hold it. As I looked around, because remember, I just finished seeing Nathan, and I saw him with his friends, with his gangster mates, yeah? So I was thinking to myself, where's this guy's mates? I'm not going to mention his mates' names because I don't want to put them on show. But all I'm going to say is, when Nathan went down and they started attacking him, all of a sudden his friends disappeared, all right? And this is the same thing that I'm going to explain to you guys week after week after week. I don't care how many times I have to say it. As long as God knows that I'm doing my job by giving you this brotherly advice, then that's all that matters. I don't care if you don't like it or if you're sick and tired of what I'm saying. But you just have to understand, Nathan was in one of the biggest gangs, all right? This was an Asian gang called Seng War. And when 5T died out, there was Seng War, there was 14K, there was Red Dragon, there was Live to Honor. Like, these were all the gangs that were up and coming at the time. And Big Circle, and these gangs were like ruthless. Like, it was very, very hard to F with them back in the day because number one, they were very discreet, and number two, if they wanted you, they'll be coming to get you. Like, you could wait 2 years, yeah, and thinking you're all good. But these guys were like me, bad grudge holders, you know. 2 years may fly by and then all of a sudden you get got. And it's because they didn't forget. So Nathan Paddison was with this gang, all right? When he's on the ground getting hammered by one guy and one guy that was kicking him, there was a third guy like looking out, yeah? Boom. I start running across the road when I realized that Nathan had no friends. Nathan was down like this, so he didn't see me running up to back him up. As I ran, and he was curled up on the ground, covered up, I jumped over him with a fly kick, and I hit the guy straight in the face that had the trolley pole, that was the one that was smacking him. As I hit this guy straight in the face, he flew and then like hit the ground, yeah? soon as he hit the ground, like his head hit the ground. So he looked up like that and saw me, and he goes, "Bro, what are you doing?" like that. And then I turned around to the other two guys. I don't want to mention these two guys' names because we are now friends, yeah. And I don't really want to explain what I did to these two guys that day because I don't want to put them on show. They are now family men, yeah. And also the guy that I kicked, he apologized to me after this situation had occurred, and he explained to me that Nathan was the one that started it. I don't know who started it. I didn't care who started it because at the time I was just backing up my Aussie mate, all right? And then when I turned around to all three guys, and I was like saying, "What?" Out of the blues, one of the older boys came and he clocked the guy that was hitting him with the trolley pole as well, and he got laid out. And when I say laid out, he got laid out. And then I thought to myself, hang on a sec, you were with Nathan, and where were you? I was looking around for you when when he was getting jumped, but then he came when I jumped in. This is the thing that I don't like here with a lot of these younger boys that are up and coming now in the gang world. On their own, they're like little pussies, yeah? But as soon as they're with their group, all of a sudden, their shoulders are up here. All of a sudden, their chest is out here, you know? And they're walking around, deaf staring everyone, you know? King of the streets, the king of the prison yards. Like, this is the way they are. So, when that situation had occurred that day, and his mate came out, I didn't say anything because I remember when I walked off, they were together, you know, and obviously Nathan's with a big gang. And I didn't say nothing because Nathan didn't see what I did. So Nathan's head was too busy down the whole time I was doing my attacking, yeah? And this is what I have to say is when Nathan got up, he actually didn't realize at the time that it was me that saved him. He turned around to the guy that came after and thanked him and didn't thank me. I just walked away. All I said was, "Are you all right?" He goes, "Yeah." "So you good?" He said, "Yeah." Then I saw the police coming and then I took off. It was no issue anyway because these three guys were the ones jumping him and I just jumped in to help him. And then he didn't even realize it was me that helped him until later when everyone started explaining to him, "Bro, it was Pete that did the fly kick and helped you, you know?" But obviously he wouldn't have known because his head was down, covered up when he was getting hammered, all right? Now, fast forward with Nathan, we went separate ways, yeah? And when we went separate ways, like I still considered him a friend because me and him, like he says on his podcast, we were always with girls going out, and Nathan was a big pretty boy back then. I wasn't, but he was. So wherever Nathan went, girls would follow. And my thing was when girls would reach out to me about certain things, because remember back in when I was young, you know how you watch movies and you always see that one person who's the go-to person, like for stolen goods? So yeah, that was me. I was like the go-to guy in high school where, so I used to go and steal cornettos from like Woolworths, yeah? And then I would go to high school and I would steal the cornettos that I had for $1 each. This was in Robinvale and Swan Hill. So I was always that guy that people would reach out to when they wanted stuff, yeah? And even like porn, like I never looked at it, never bothered with it, but guys would ask me for it as I was growing up, 16, 17. So that's what I used to do. I used to steal the porn and then sell it to them, you know, like still in the package. I would sell it to them like that. It would never be open. Magazine would come with a video and I'd sell it to them, all right? So yeah, that's who I was as a kid. I was the go-to guy. And so a lot of people from Fairfield knew me as the mobile phone guy. So I always had stolen mobile phones that I was selling, yeah? And it's nothing to be proud of. Like my thing back then is I did not care about anyone. So when I'm telling my story, it's to sell the younger generation who are living the life that I was living back then, where you don't care about anything, yeah? All I'm saying is to you is that's the life that I live. And now that I'm older and wiser, I realize that was a shit life, you know? If I had spent my time getting a degree, if I had spent my time working alongside my dad. So my dad is a first-class welder and a mechanic. And my dad is so upset today because me and my brothers didn't learn his craft. You know what I mean? My dad was like, far out. you know, I tried to teach you boys, but none of you boys wanted to take my trade, you know. All you boys wanted to do was be a gangster. And let me tell you something, hey, can you decline this person that's calling? Let me tell you guys something about my dad, yeah? Before I reach out. My dad, he used to have this saying that he used to say to me and my brothers. He goes, you three always walk around, you know, talking it up like you're gangsters, yeah? And he goes, let me tell you something. Like, if you're a gangster, you wouldn't be locked up. He goes, how you call yourself gangsters when you're always in and out of prison? He goes, you must be stupid gangsters. So remember, my dad, he can't speak English properly, yeah? So when he says this stuff in Samoan, it's like 10 times funnier when he's putting us on the dumb criminals. And he was right. My dad was right. My brothers and I were dumb criminals, but we were typical dumb islanders that didn't care because we were very violent kids, and anyone that stepped on our toes, we were willing to take them on, you know? We didn't care who they were. But moving back to Nathan Paddison, as we parted ways with each other, we came into contact again years later, like 10 years later. I hadn't seen him for a long time. And there's a gang inside prison called W2K. If you Google it, you'll see it, yeah? W2K stands for willing to ilk, all right? Now, this gang was very, very dangerous back in the 90s, back when me and Nathan weren't even in prison, back when me and Nathan were still little wannabes, all right? This gang started way back in the 90s, and they started when they were friends with the Islanders. Now, the only reason why I know this is because I was with a lot of the main W2K guys at Junee prison when the racial wars had calmed down. But the difference is I was in the main and these W2K boys were in protection, all right? And the older Islander boys, which was Moses Tall, he was the one that ran all the Islanders back then. He was the one that explained to me that W2K first started when they were in the main. And they started because they were sick and tired of being picked on by all the other different nationalities. So a lot of the Aussie boys that were doing a long time, over 10 years, ended up creating this gang. And I remember asking two boys who had white power tatted on them, yeah? I said to them, hey, is your gang racist gang? And they're like, nah, why did you ask that? And I said, oh, because I seen this thing on movies all the time, white power, and I just assumed that like your guys' gang was a racist gang. And they're like, nah, what are you talking about? Because W2K was started when we were close with all the Islander boys at Goulburn, you know? I was like, oh, well. Anyway, the main guys at Junee that actually started W2K, they were the ones that explained everything to me thoroughly, because the only reason why I spoke to them was at the time when all the wheeling and dealing was happening from the main to protection. So a lot of money also comes from protection side, yeah? And everyone in the main is always trying to wheel and deal and make sure that they get as much money as they can. And when the old man Moses explained to me that that none of them are dogs, I was like, so how come they're in protection if they're not dogs? And he goes, when they came through, they did attack a lot of boys. And Moses said, like, when I say attack, he goes, it wasn't half-hearted. Everything these Aussie boys did, they put their all into it. So there's a lot of crap that you guys will hear from inside prison. All these war stories, all these prison stories where boys get bladed, yeah? And let me tell you something. They're all half-hearted cunts, all right? I'll tell you about guys that actually call themselves blade runners, yeah? There's this one little shit. He's an OC. I walked into pod 10, yeah? This was about 4 years ago. He's got OC tatted on the back of his head. And when I walked into the pod, Rock Ahmed and the other Lebanese boys started laughing. And then as I was walking up to them, I shook their hands and I was like, oh, what are you laughing at? And they're like, as soon as you walked into the pod, see that young kid over there? And I turned around and I said, yeah. He goes, he turned his hat around. So he had it forward, but then he turned it around to cover the OC that's on the back of his head. And I said, why did he cover his head? And they explained to me he had OC in his head. And I said, this guy was a little shit. Like, he was so small that if I slapped him, he'll go flying, yeah? So I called him over. I said, come here. He came over, and then I said, what's on the back of your head? And he goes, also, I used to be OC. And I said, are you still OC? He goes, no, also, I'm not, like that. And I said, show me your bloody tattoo. Takes off his hat, shows me his tattoo. And I was like, I go, are you sure you left that gang? I go, because if I find out you didn't, then I'm going to turn you upside down. And he goes to me, I promise you, I left the gang. I don't want no part of it. I just do my thing, you know? I said, all right. Then I pointed at my room and I told him to go and grab my mattress and bring it out, do up my bed and clean the toilet. This was my way of belittling him without beating the hell out of him, because, mate, anyone could have slapped this bloke and he would have went fine because he was so small. So I made him clean my toilet and I made him friggin' do my bed, yeah? After he did this, I said to him, look, I'm not going to give you a hiding. I'm going to let you go. But don't ever let me see that tattoo in this wing. And as soon as you get the opportunity, make sure you take that tattoo off your head. And then he said yes, and he walked away. And all the Lebo boys were cracking up laughing. And I was like, bro, why you keep laughing? They're like, Uzo, before you came here, he was full telling us, hey, he's a Blade Runner. And I was like, oh my gosh, here we go. And I said, seriously. And Rock Ahmed was just cracking up because, yeah, this guy full tells everyone he's a Blade Runner. So the reason why he was telling everyone he was a Blade Runner was there was a situation that occurred with the Rebels and OC, yeah? This story will be told in full my next live. I'm not going to tell you all about it, but long story short, they went to war with each other inside a cell. And this little kid went to town on this rebel guy from behind while the rebel was trying to take on the other OC guy. I'm going to cut that story short because it's a good story to tell. But the reason why I brought up this story is about these young guys who don't know what they're getting themselves into, you know. And so when Nathan Paddison got on social media and explained that he was W2K, this is what people are telling me. I don't watch Nathan's TikToks. I've watched a few of his short clips and I thought to myself, good on you, you know. But the thing is, when I met Nathan at Junee prison, he was in protection, all right? And I went off it, I gave him a bit of a lecture. I said, bro, what the hell are you doing in there? Like, remember, I know Nathan as being a soldier. He was with the biggest Asian gang in Fairfield at the time. And he wasn't one to take a backward step. Yeah, he was getting bashed that day by those three guys. But hey, who do you think you are? Well, you think you're going to take on three guys? So, like, I'm not going to belittle the bloke because he was getting hammered by three guys that day. Like, he did try to fight him, but he came out second best, all right? So what I'm saying is, when he was in the protection, I had to speak up because I considered him my mate. I said, what the hell are you doing in there? He explained to me that he had a few issues in the main, and then he had been jumped a few times, and then he went to protection, you know. And it wasn't him being a dog. He was no dog. It wasn't him bailing. There's this thing inside prison. It's called duty of care, all right? So remember, guys, everyone on this platform can talk all the rubbish that they want, yeah? But I will explain it properly. All right, because a lot of people that's talking about jail rubbish don't understand it. They think they know, but they don't, all right? So this thing that's called duty of care, they can slap this duty of care on myself and they can put me in protection, all right? Let me explain something to you. There's a strong-willed man that would take on anyone, yeah? This man, he went through a lot of problems. I'm going to be talking about him very, very soon, yeah? His name is Julius Graf. Now, Julius Graf was also in protection. But guess what? It was for duty of care. For 3 years straight, Julius asked to go back into the main after he got jumped. But the screws refused to let him go back into the main, all right? And Julius got sick of staying in friggin' segregation, sick of being on NA. He wasn't a person to take a backward step. He would take on anyone. He didn't care who it was. And when he got jumped by the best. These guys that jumped him were all islanders that had massive names, yeah? And when he got jumped, he got hammered, yeah? But guess what? he walked out of the yard. Yes, he got up and he walked out of the yard. Now let me see you walk out of the yard when the hardest islanders inside prison jump all over your head. This is what I'm saying. You can mock these people all you want, but if you don't know the story, then keep your mouth shut, all right? So Nathan Paddison was in protection. I asked him what happened. He explained it to me, but there was also an Aussie that was in protection who I know was actually a frontline soldier, like not just for the Aussies, but for the Islanders, yeah? This guy's name was Matt Massey. And let me tell you something, at Junee prison, yeah, when I was there, the Islander boys used to always talk rubbish about Matt Massey because he was in protection. And Moses To'o, who was leading the Islanders at the time, said to me, you know that guy? And I said, yeah, Uzo. He goes, then he's one of the strongest guys that I've come across when it comes to Aussie boys. Man, he got jumped pretty bad at Lithgow, and then he got jumped pretty bad at Goulburn. And all his friends left him with it, including all the Islanders that used to treat him like a brother. This is the reason why Matt Massey said, you know what, F you guys, I'm going to go to protection. The same thing that the brother Sella did when he was at Lithgow prison. Remember I told you guys a story about Sella? He got jumped and stabbed at Lithgow prison. And then when he went to Junee, he was sick and tired of it. He was like, I'm fighting freaking a racial war that I have nothing to do with. I've never taken drugs. I've never been to prison before. It's my first time in prison. And all of a sudden I'm getting abstain everywhere I go. And I'm having one-on-ones everywhere I go. Sick and tired of it. So he was like, stuff it. I'm going to go to protection where I'm happy and do my time peacefully and go home to my family. The same with Matt Massey, the same with Julius Graf, and the same with Nathan Paddison. They had to be in there due to duty of care. And if the screws do not protect you when it comes to duty of care, then the state is held liable. So the correctional centers will be held liable if they knew that I was going to get jumped and they chucked me in the main. Compensation claim all over the place, all right? So I did not know that Nathan Paddison ended up joining W2K, but all the W2K boys that came later on and ended up in Goulburn, they were nutcases. Even though they were in protection, I remember, I think it was year 2015, yeah? And there was big outing stays at Goulburn. And when this happened, it was all in protection that it happened. And a screw came to me and said to me, did you know that there is more abbing stays in protection than there is in the main? Now remember, the main is where all the gangsters are. Protection is where all the apis rays and all that stuff are, yeah? So these guys who considered themselves W2K, honestly, I don't know why they were playing gangster in the boneyard, because I'll be truthful with you guys. If I was in protection, if I was in the boneyard, I wouldn't even try to be a gangster. I'd be like, stuff that, I'm going to go sit in my corner, I'm going to train, but I'm going to put a hoodie over my head or a jumper over my head, and I just don't want anyone to see me again, you know? But these guys, I can honestly say I was there and they took care of their yard. They never let any apis rays or pedos come into their yard. So remember, where they are is protection, and then next to them is strict protection. Strict protection is where all these disgusting dogs are, yeah, including big snitches. And then obviously you got Supergrass, which is at Long Bay, and that's you can consider it strict protection. All right. Now, with Nathan Paddison joining W2K, I had no idea about this situation, but I do know that he had a lot of fights that happened in there. But the story that I'm about to finish off when it comes to Nathan Paddison is the W2K boys, when they attacked the protection boys that were belittling the Muslim religion. So a few of these W2K boys ended up becoming Muslim, yeah? They were considered reverts. And I remember I was sitting back that day and they were praying. And I didn't know what was going on. I was just kicking back, relaxing. And as I was relaxing, all I seen was the boys going, oi, 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 look. I turned my head and I just seen all these Aussie boys just start attacking the whole yard, yeah? This is in protection. And when they're attacking them, I don't mean like half-hearted attacking, throwing punches. Mate, they were going to town on all the people in there. So if you don't understand what I'm saying, because you guys are 9 to 5 people who don't understand jail rubbish, I'm going to explain to you. So let's say this area here is a yard, yeah? So this means that the screws will let my unit into this yard, and there will be about 30 boys. So on that day, there was about 20 to 30 boys in this yard, which is protection, where Nathan Paddison was, yeah? The Aussie boys just finished praying, doing their Muslim prayers. They got up, took off their caps, put away their carpets that they prayed on. They turned around, pulled out their Ivshays, and boom, just started attacking. And I'm telling you, all I seen was all the yard running around in circles, and they were getting attacked by these, I think there was about 7 boys that attacked their whole yard. And there was guys trying to climb the fence to get over the other side because they didn't want to get abstained. This is how bad it was in protection. You know what I mean? When I was there, and that's what I'm saying. Like, it's not just the main where the wars was going on. It was also in protection, and it was the things that were happening in there was actually 10 times worse than what was happening in the main. But you have to think about it. If you were in the main, you'll be so embarrassed, yeah? So what's gonna overcome your embarrassment is to make sure you clean up your yard. No ape shows, no pedos, nothing. Everyone in your yard is guys that had dramas over debt, got stood over, got extorted. So this is pretty much was there. Yes, it was protection. Yes, it was the bone yard, but not one person in this yard was a dog. They were all guys that had problems in the main, and then they either bailed to protection, or the screws put them in there under duty of care. But at the same time, I'm going to explain something to you guys. I was also put under duty of care when I was at Silverwater after I knocked out one guy, and their mates tried to attack me. Nothing happened. I came out on top. And then they said to me, because this gang had more numbers at Silverwater, they were going to put me on this thing called PRNA, yeah? And all the lone wolves were in PRNA, all the finks were on PRNA, and then they were going to put me on PRNA. I started going off. I said, if you put me on PRNA, you're going to get trouble from me every single day. I don't care. You want to bring your gas, you want to bring your shields, it is what it is, let's do it. And then the officer was explaining to me, like, why are you so angry? I said, I don't want to be a freaking PRNA. And they said, mate, it's duty of care. We have to make sure that we protect you. You know, I said, I don't need your protection. Get out of my face. I'm telling you, if you put me on PRNA, I'm going to make sure that I go off every single day. Bring your gas and bring your shields. So this is what I'm also saying. Even though the officers were trying to put me on under duty of care and put me on PRNA, I refused it. I went on with it for 3 days. I kept refusing to go into my cell. I kept throwing my dinner at them. I kept going off, yeah? And it eventually came to the point where the deputy governor came down and he said to me, all right, listen, this is what we're going to do for you. We're going to let you go back to the pod, and we're going to give you one more chance. If you attack anyone again, then we're going to make sure that we put you on NA, non-association, and you're never going to see a yard again until you get back with your boys. So, yeah. If you want to go on with you will get your freedom back. But at the same time, if something happens to you after the deputy governor or the governor allows you to go back into the main, you will get big compensation claim. They will be held liable if they do not protect you. All right. So to everyone that was asking stories about Nathan Paddison, there's the story right there. And that's the 100% truth. Yes, there's a lot more things that I will talk on when it comes to Nathan and other situations that occurred. But pretty much a lot of people were upset because he was online acting like a gangster. This is their words, not my words, all right? Because he was online acting like a gangster, and they were upset because they were like, you in the boneyard. Like, who are you to talk like a gangster? No one should listen to you, you're a boneyarder. Look, that's none of my business. You want to listen to the bloke, you listen to the bloke. But now that you understand exactly how it works inside prison, and obviously I explained to you big names such as Julius Graff, who also was in protection, but he went in there under duty of care. And let me explain something to you before I finish up on that, yeah? They actually a gas canister at Julius's arm, yeah? And it bruised his whole arm. And the reason why they this at him is because he was always refusing to go to protection. He always wanted to go back to the main. But all the heavy hitters back then were all in the main. And if Julius had gone back in there, he would have got jumped again. But my point is, the screws left him inside segregation under duty of care. And then 3 years later, that's when Julius was like, stuff it, guys, just put me in protection. He didn't care no more about his gang reputation. He knew who he was, and he chose to go because he was sick and tired of being alone inside segregation. Now, before we move forward to the final story, again, if you guys didn't know, 212 Heat is my actual blood brother, and he's my younger brother. Even though he's bigger than me, he's my younger brother. All right, my younger, bigger brother. So this is the story. Not long ago, and mind you guys, this story is not in prison. This story happened out here, yeah? My brother was with his son, all right? This old lady and her, I think it was her daughter or her niece, right? The girl was older, obviously. My brother and his son were walking along, and this lady was like speeding. And when she was speeding, she cut a corner and she almost hit my nephew. And that's my brother 212 Heat's son, yeah? When she almost hit my nephew, obviously for all of you guys who know my brother 212 Heat, and all of you guys who see his video clips behind me every week, you all know that my brother, he clicks it, and you know, he's the type who doesn't take a backward step either, you know, like if you want it, he's gonna be coming for you. Now, my brother has settled down a lot. He's a father now, and he's done his best to leave his violent past behind him, you know. And now that he's got his son, he's obviously very how do I put it, like very wise about the decisions he makes when it comes to speaking in front of his son and the way he carries himself in front of his son. Obviously, all of you guys know that kids, they have like a photographic memory, you know, like how you are is the way they're going to act, you know what I mean? And the way you carry yourself is the way they're going to carry themselves. So my brother is very, very aware of that, hence his settling down, right? So now remember, if you guys know my brother 212 Heat very well, you know that if someone's going to cut him, almost hit his son, he's gonna click it, yeah? That's exactly what happened that day. My brother jumps in his car and he goes after this car, but he didn't know it was two females, all right? Once the car pulls it over, like it was like not even far from my brother's apartment. So here's my brother's apartment, and they lived like right next to them. So my brother drove after them, they pulled over, and then my brother jumped out and he walked straight up to the old lady and he goes, "Are you serious?" And she looked at him like really weird. She goes, "What?" He goes, "What do you mean what?" And my brother was like, "You almost hit my son." He goes, "You're freaking speeding in a on a little road and you almost hit my son. Are you dumb?" And then the daughter come forward, but she didn't say nothing. Or I don't know if it's the daughter or the niece. And then the lady looked at my brother here, and instead of apologizing for almost hitting my brother's son, guess what this old lady said? She goes, "You know who I am?" That's what she said. She goes, "Do you know who I am?" But yeah, I was full cracking up laughing when my brother was telling me this story, yeah? And like obviously my brother, he's got cameras on his car. So everything is being filmed. This lady bridging up to 212. Who would pay for that footage? An old lady bridging up to 212. So here's this lady saying, "Do you know who I am?" And my brother looked at her and my brother was like, "Who are you?" And obviously my brother didn't want to be disrespectful because she's an old lady, you know? And then she was like, "I'm Albanian." And then my brother looked at her and goes, and what? And she said, what do you mean, and what? Because Albanian, you know what our people do to people like you? And remember, you guys have seen my brother 212. He's a big boy. So obviously this lady is very short, small lady, old lady, and she's just does not care. And obviously, for those of you who were watching my live yesterday and the day before, you were asking me about Albanian gangs in Australia and Russian gangs that were coming to Australia. Well, here we go. You wanted a story about Albanians? Here's the old lady bridging up to 212 Heat, my brother, about her Albanian background, yeah? So my brother's like saying to her, what about Albanians? She's like, you know what we do to people like you? My brother goes, what do you do? And she goes, I show you, huh? I'm gonna call my son and I show you. And then my brother's like, call your son then. Then my brother turns around and tells his wife and his son, go inside the apartment. And she's like, yeah. And now remember, my brother's apartment is right next to this old lady's apartment. So obviously if she calls someone, it's someone that lives in her apartment. So bad, saying that he's gonna come down now. So my brother stood there. My brother's like, call your Albanian son. Oh, my brother's kicking back, waiting. And this old lady, she didn't even flinch. She actually just stood there and just kept staring at my brother. And my brother was like ignoring her and trying to look to the left. But this lady just stood there, just kept looking at my brother, yeah? And she had made a phone call. And so my brother was waiting for this for this so-called Albanian family member that was going to come down. And what the old lady said to my brother that I didn't mention is she said, I will call my son down here to teach you a lesson. That's exactly what she said, bro. This old lady, yeah? Now, when my brother's sitting there waiting, he actually said to me, I thought to myself, far out. Like, this lady is like so freaking adamant that she was gonna do something. My brother was like, fuck, maybe she's gonna call all these Albanians to attack me, you know? And so my brother was like, you know what? Stuff this. I'm not gonna do anything, you know? I'm just gonna kick back and wait for all of them to come and we'll see what happens. What happens, you know? Boom, out of nowhere, this big bloke comes storming down and he was tatted up, yeah? Tatted up, and my brother said to me, this guy looked like a full bikie. And when he was walking down, he had this look on him like, who's effing around with my grandma or whoever it was to him, you know? So soon as this guy comes towards my brother's standing there and he goes, what's going on? And my brother goes, what's going on? And then he goes, what's happening, bro? And he goes, well, this old lady here said that you were gonna come here and teach me a lesson. And then my brother takes off his jacket, he goes, come and teach me a lesson. Bro, the first thing this bloke does is goes, what? He goes, what did you do? He goes, man, no, this is my freaking mother, my wife's grandma. That's what he started saying, yeah? And then my brother looked at him and goes, yeah, but are you going to teach me a lesson? He goes, brother, I'm sorry. He goes, look, don't take it to heart. She's an old lady, bro, and she comes like from Albania, like, you know, where all the heavies are from, you know, like, bro, I'll apologize on her behalf. Like she's very stubborn, bro. She's like this to me too. My brother was telling me far out, I just wanted to do something to this guy just to show this old lady that who she's messing with, you know, like this is Australia, this is not Albania. This is Australia, this is not Europe. You can't come around here trying to throw your weight around. Just like I told you guys yesterday on my live that in Australia, no gangs from overseas can come here and try to take over because all the gangs here have got it locked down. But obviously this old lady, she was so gangster. She had been through it. You can tell from the way she looks that she's been involved in everything, yeah? That she said it straight to my brother's face. And this is the first thing that made me laugh was the fact that my brother said he had footage of it. And the footage just shows this old lady giving my brother death stares and mouthing off at him. So yeah, the guy was a gentleman. The guy that she called down that was all tatted up, looking like a bikie. He was a gentleman. He shook my brother's hand and he apologized. And then it was left at that. And now every day they walk past each other. They greet each other with respect, you know. So yeah, just to finish this live off, I just want to express to all you younger generation out there, you know. The stories that I told is not stories that I'm telling so you can see how gangster guys are or how ruthless gangs are. I'm not telling these stories so that you guys can learn about the crime side of it and then try to elevate your gang status. No. I'm telling you guys this story with the hope that you guys learn from my mistakes, with the hope that you guys